This is a comic that I made 2019, I think. Yeah. Called The Golden Apple Tray. And all the apples on it are hand painted every time. I worked out the maths for how many apples I have to paint and how long it takes, and it was a lot. It was a lot of time. But also I just really like throughout the comic with the golden apple shining. A printer couldn't do that. So I think when I was just before I was making this, I was working on a different comic, and then my child told me a story in the space of like 30. Well, they kind of said an outline of a story, and they said honestly, yeah, I've still got the original, no idea where I wrote the script in like a fast 5 minutes. They said like there was a man, a lion, and a golden apple tray, and I thought that's a perfect story right then. And at the time of kind of hearing that from my child, I was reading this by Tatsumi, which is loads of fables, and I just thought it was great. Like, I think this is the first thing of his I read. There's an end story in here which just blew me away. It's so embarrassing that you saw my phone. Behind the scenes. Anyway, yeah, so this probably drawn most of, I think 2019 came out, maybe just towards the end of it. But it's still available. So essentially follows an animal and a man living kind of parallel lives. And they're going through starvation. And they're absolutely desperate, and they come across this golden apple tray. And as they're both running towards it from separate sides, they clock each other. And they're kind of dumbstruck as to the competition of each other. And they're threatening one another and saying, this tree is mine. They make a deal to share the tree. But if one of them crosses the other one, they're basically going to kill each other. And the lion realizes that this situation can't last forever. Winter's going to come, the tree will die, and there'll just be a few apples left. The lion doesn't want to be left behind, so he wanders off into the bush to think. And he comes across a sheep. And the sheep is obviously terrified, but the lion befriends the sheep and makes a deal with the sheep. Tells the sheep, you can eat all these apples, and in return, you tell the man that the golden apple tree is your home. So a day or two passes, and the next time the man arrives at the tree, the sheep is sitting in the tree, munching away at all these golden apples, and the man is saying, get away, this isn't your tree. And the sheep responds very calmly that actually this is this is my tree. And so the man calls the lion, and the lion asks the sheep if this is true. Obviously, the sheep says yes, and the lion says, we need to honor this. Yeah, so all these were hand inked, and you have to wait for the page to dry before you go over, so it takes like about 20 minutes to do just one copy. So yeah, the lion says, the sheep I believe to be true, we must respect nature's laws. And the man reluctantly agrees and goes off. Then a few days go by, and now the sheep has the upper hand, because the sheep is now refusing to give apples to the lion. And so the lion gets really aggressive. But the sheep makes a really valid point of, if you kill me, the man will know that you lied about this not being my home. So the sheep is stuck in this really awkward situation and slowly dying. And so is the man. And they're both kind of put in this really horrible situation where they can't do anything about it. They've painted themselves into a corner, essentially. So the lion says, if I tell the man that I lied, he will behead me. If I kill the sheep, the man will know I have been deceitful and still kill me. The man says, perhaps I can befriend the sheep, promise the sheep riches if we share the apples. So the man meets with the sheep and says, we could be eating meats, veg, we'd be rich. And the sheep says, I accept on one condition. A day or two goes by, and the lion is passing by the sheep. The sheep calls him over, and the lion is now pretty sheepish, really, and kind of doesn't feel strong or in charge. The sheep says, I'm sorry about yesterday. If the man saw me sharing apples, we could both be killed. I did it to protect us. I did it to protect you. And the lion is essentially being gaslit by a sheep. So the sheep's obviously had a talk with the man and makes this agreement on a certain condition. And now the sheep is doing the same to the lion, saying, we need to talk. I'm worried the man wants the tree for himself. He could be dangerous. And basically saying, don't you think you should do something, to the lion? The lion agrees, and the man's back in his cave. Last page. A lot of people said to me, like, this should be a part 2, but it really does make sense. It's a complete story. So the man's looking out from his cave. So sheep says, if I kill the lion, we can share the tree's wealth. I have no other option. The air is so dry here, I can barely breathe. The end. So you'll have to come to your own conclusion of what happens. But there's a kind of wink to a wolf in sheep's clothing here, because all along the way the sheep isn't actually a sheep, it's in fact a lamb. But so right from the start, the lamb is being deceitful and plays along on its kind of like naive look to these other characters that appear very strong and threatening. Meanwhile, this wolf in sheep's clothing is essentially in charge all along from the start. But yeah, I had a lot of fun drawing this. It was a lot of fun to do. Yeah, and try new like printing techniques. I think this was on, yeah, obviously Risoprint green print. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. It's still available if you want to pick it up. Thanks.